The quantum mist swirled around the starship Luminara, its crystalline hull reflecting the distant starlight like a prism caught between dimensions. Captain Elena Rodriguez sat in the command chair, her fingers tracing invisible patterns on the neural interface embedded in the armrest. The bridge of the Orion Collective's most advanced scout vessel hummed with a soft, almost imperceptible energy, a symphony of technological marvel that represented decades of interstellar exploration and scientific breakthrough. Lieutenant Miguel Chen monitored the quantum field sensors, his dark eyes scanning the holographic displays that danced around his workspace. The Horizon sector was supposed to be a routine patrol, a vast, mostly empty stretch of space that marked the outer boundary of known Orion Collective territory. Nothing ever happened here. Nothing except the endless dance of quantum particles and the occasional stellar anomaly. "Captain," Chen called out, his voice cutting through the ambient bridge sounds, "I'm detecting an unusual quantum disturbance." Elena leaned forward, her cybernetic eye, a marvel of biomechanical engineering, zooming in on the sensor readings. The display flickered, lines of data twisting and reforming in patterns that defied conventional understanding. "Magnify Sector 7 Delta," she commanded, her voice calm but tinged with a hint of professional curiosity. The holographic display expanded, revealing a region of space that seemed to ripple and bend. It was as if the very fabric of spacetime was being gently folded and manipulated by an unseen hand. Chen's fingers flew across the interface, running diagnostic after diagnostic. "The quantum signature doesn't match any known species in our database," he reported, a tremor of excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. Ensign Lianzhong, the ship's youngest crew member, couldn't contain her enthusiasm. "It's like watching a magic trick," she whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. The quantum disturbance continued to grow, forming what looked like the preliminary stages of a spatial emergence. The Luminara's advanced sensors began to strain, their complex algorithms struggling to make sense of the incoming data. Quantum entanglement matrices flickered and reset, unable to maintain a consistent reading. Elena Rodriguez had seen countless anomalies during her decades of space exploration, but this was different. This felt deliberate. "Full passive scanning," she ordered, her voice cutting through the growing tension on the bridge. "I want every sensor we have focused on that anomaly." The ship seemed to hold its breath. Quantum scanners, gravitational wave detectors, quantum flux analyzers, all of them converged on the expanding disturbance. The holographic displays around the bridge became a kaleidoscope of mathematical projections, probability matrices, and partially formed spatial representations. Then, without warning, it happened. A vessel materialized. It wasn't a sudden appearance, more of a gradual coalescence. One moment, there was nothing but swirling quantum mist, and the next, a ship existed where nothing had been before. Its hull seemed to be composed of a material that both absorbed and reflected light in impossible ways. Smooth lines broke up complex geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change, even as the crew tried to comprehend them. "Identification?" Elena asked, her cybernetic eye running multiple visual analysis protocols simultaneously. Chen shook his head. "No match in any database. The whole composition is extraordinary. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." The ship hung in space, perfectly still. No emissions, no standard communication signals, no indication of its origin or intent. It was as if a piece of advanced technology had simply decided to exist in their immediate vicinity. Lianzhong's hands moved across her console, running passive communication protocols. "Attempting initial contact," she reported, her voice a mix of professional calm and barely contained excitement. Seconds stretched into moments. The bridge crew of the Luminara watched, collectively holding their breath. The unknown vessel remained motionless, a silent sentinel in the quantum-misted expanse of the Horizon sector. Then, a transmission crackled to life. The bridge erupted in a moment of collective tension. First contact scenarios played out in the split second before the communication fully resolved. Would this be a moment of diplomacy or the prelude to conflict? The quantum mist continued to swirl, seemingly indifferent to the momentous occasion, unfolding within its ethereal embrace. A voice emerged, clear, precise, carrying a weight that suggested volumes of unspoken history. The encounter had begun. The transmission carried a resonance that seemed to vibrate through the very quantum fabric of space. Captain Kazuki Nakamura's voice emerged with a clarity that belied the vast distances between the two ships, a voice that carried the weight of calculated precision and unspoken depth. Orion Collective Vessel. The transmission began. This is the United Earth ship Defiance. Maintain current position and prepare for standard communication protocol. On the bridge of the Luminara, Lieutenant Miguel Chen frantically ran diagnostic checks. The communication was impossible by all known technological standards. No standard subspace or quantum communication channel should have been able to penetrate the quantum mist with such crystal-clear resolution. Captain Elena Rodriguez leaned forward, her cybernetic eye flickering with a rapid series of analytical subroutines. "Open a return channel," she commanded, her voice steady despite the electrical charge of anticipation that filled the bridge. Ensign Lian Zhang's fingers danced across the communication console. Her training kicked in, falling back on the carefully memorized first contact protocols that were part of every deep space exploration officer's core curriculum. "Channel open," she reported, her voice betraying just a hint of excitement. The human vessel remained motionless, a geometric marvel that seemed to defy the conventional understanding of spacecraft design. Its hull continued to shift and shimmer, molecular structures playing a complex dance of light and shadow that challenged the very perception of the Luminara's crew. "United Earth ship," Elena began, choosing her words with diplomatic precision. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Orion Collective Scout Vessel Luminara. We appreciate your communication and request further information about your vessel's origin and intent." A moment of silence followed, not the empty silence of space, but a pregnant pause that seemed charged with meaning. Then Captain Nakamura responded. "Standard protocol dictates communication before engagement," he said, each word carefully measured. There was something in his tone, a depth of understanding that suggested this was more than a simple first contact scenario. It was a carefully orchestrated dance of information and intention. Chen's sensor displays began to go haywire. The human ship was emitting complex quantum signatures that defied conventional understanding. It was as if the vessel was simultaneously broadcasting and absorbing information, creating a communication field that was part technological marvel, part something entirely unknown. "Our long-range sensors are having difficulty obtaining a complete reading," Elena said, a note of professional frustration creeping into her voice. "Could you assist us in establishing a more stable communication link?" Another pause. Then, a response that sent a chill down the spines of everyone on the Luminara's bridge. "Sensor difficulty is a feature, not a limitation," Nakamura replied. The statement hung in the air, equal parts warning and observation. It wasn't a boast, simply a statement of fact that suggested depths of technological capability far beyond what the Orion Collective had assumed possible. Lian Zhang's console began to populate with fragments of data, quantum signatures, energy readings, spatial distortions that seemed to emanate from the human vessel. Each fragment was like a piece of an impossible puzzle, refusing to conform to any standard model of understanding. "We are conducting a routine patrol of the Horizon sector," Elena continued, maintaining diplomatic protocol even as her mind raced to understand the technological marvel before her. "We mean no intrusion into your operational space." Captain Nakamura's response was immediate. "Operational space is a fluid concept in this region of space. Your definition and ours may differ significantly." The underlying message was clear. The human vessel was not asking for permission. It was stating a fact. Lieutenant Chen whispered almost inaudibly, "They're not just a ship. They're a statement." The quantum mist continued to swirl around the two vessels, the sleek, known design of the Luminara contrasting sharply with the geometric complexity of the Defiance. Two technological philosophies meeting in the vast, indifferent expanse of space. Elena Rodriguez understood then that this was more than a first contact scenario. This was a moment of profound technological and cultural revelation. The human vessel represented something entirely beyond the Orion Collective's understanding, a leap in technological evolution that challenged everything they believed about space exploration and interstellar capabilities. The encounter had only just begun, but already the universe seemed to be reshaping itself around this unexpected meeting. The first shot came without warning, a brilliant lance of plasma energy that erupted from the Luminara's forward batteries. It was a standard defensive protocol, a warning shot designed to demonstrate technological capability and establish a clear boundary of intent. Lieutenant Emma Park watched the plasma bolt streak towards the human vessel with clinical precision. Her hands hovering over the defensive systems console, she expected the standard cascade of reactions. Shield activation, evasive maneuvers, a return warning shot. What happened next defied every expectation. The plasma bolt seemed to slow, its energy signature warping as it approached the UES Defiance. Instead of striking the hull or being deflected by a standard energy shield, the weapon simply altered course. It was as if the very fabric of space around the human ship had become a living, thinking entity that gently nudged the incoming threat away. On the bridge, Captain Elena Rodriguez leaned forward, her cybernetic eye frantically analyzing the impossible trajectory. "Report," she demanded, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. Lieutenant Miguel Chen's hands flew across his console, pulling up every possible sensor reading. "The plasma bolt. It's been redirected," he said, disbelief clear in his voice. "Not destroyed. Not absorbed. Redirected." The UES Defiance remained motionless, a geometric marvel that seemed to breathe with an intelligence beyond mechanical design. Captain Kazuki Nakamura's voice crackled over the communication channel, calm and measured. "We advised maintaining distance," he said, as if commenting on a minor administrative detail rather than responding to a potential act of aggression. Ensign Lian Zhang's hands trembled slightly as she monitored the incoming data. The sensor readings were unlike anything in the Orion Collective's extensive database. The human ship wasn't just defending. It was interacting with the very physics of space-time in a way that challenged fundamental understanding. "Full weapons assessment," Elena ordered, her voice tight with a mixture of professional curiosity and growing concern. The Luminara's advanced weapon systems began to cycle through their arsenal. Quantum disruptors charged, gravitational compression weapons primed, exotic matter projectors aligned. Each weapon represented the pinnacle of the Orion Collective's decades of technological research, systems that had reduced entire asteroid fields to cosmic dust in moments of conflict. Emma Park's fingers danced across her console, coordinating the multi-layered attack approach. Standard tactical doctrine called for overwhelming force, a demonstration of technological superiority that would discourage further conflict. The first wave of weapons launched. Quantum disruptors that could theoretically unravel molecular bonds. Gravitational compression weapons designed to crush matter at the subatomic level. Exotic matter projectors that could create localized spatial anomalies capable of destroying entire space stations. And the UES Defiance simply existed. Each weapon approached with mathematical precision. Each weapon was subtly, impossibly redirected. It was less a defensive action and more a dance, a complex choreography where the human ship seemed to anticipate and gently guide each incoming threat away from itself and its immediate space. "They're not even trying to destroy our weapons," Miguel Chen whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. "They're treating our most advanced arsenal like inconvenient insects." Captain Nakamura's voice returned, carrying a tone that was almost conversational. "Your weapons are impressive from a technological perspective," he said, "but technology is merely a language, and language can be understood, translated, redirected." On the Luminara's bridge, a collective shiver ran through the crew. This was no longer a potential conflict. This was a demonstration. Elena Rodriguez understood then that they were witnessing something profound. The UES Defiance wasn't just a ship. It was a statement about the nature of technological evolution. Each redirected weapon was a sentence in a complex dialogue that spoke of capabilities far beyond conventional understanding. The attack continued, wave after wave of increasingly desperate weapon deployments. And with each wave, the human vessel responded with the same impossible grace, nudging, redirecting, almost playfully dismantling the Orion Collective's most advanced offensive capabilities. What had begun as a potential conflict was transforming into something else entirely. A lesson, perhaps. A demonstration of a technological paradigm, so advanced it bordered on the incomprehensible. The universe seemed to hold its breath, watching. The battle transformed into something beyond conventional understanding. Lieutenant Emma Park watched in growing fascination as the Luminara's most advanced technological systems became nothing more than an elaborate light show against the human vessel. Her console flickered with impossible readings. The UES Defiance's hull was more than a simple protective barrier. It was a living, breathing system of molecular adaptation. Each incoming weapon, each energy signature, each quantum disruption was not just deflected but studied, understood, and ultimately neutralized. "This isn't defense," Lieutenant Miguel Chen muttered, his hands moving across sensor arrays that struggled to make sense of the data. "This is communication." Captain Elena Rodriguez felt a chill run down her spine. The human ship was learning. With each weapon system the Orion Collective deployed, the Defiance's response became more refined, more precise. It was as if the vessel possessed an intelligence that went far beyond traditional artificial systems, a consciousness that could predict, adapt, and respond faster than thought itself. The ship's hull shifted and changed, molecular structures dancing in patterns that defied conventional physics. Metallic surfaces rippled like liquid, absorbing incoming energy and transforming it into something entirely different. Quantum fluctuations that should have torn apart any known material instead became a complex language of interaction. Ensign Lian Zheng's communication systems began picking up subtle data streams, fragments of information that seemed to be emanating from the Defiance in complex, multi-layered patterns. "Captain," she called out, her voice trembling slightly. "The ship is communicating through its defensive systems." Each redirected weapon became a data point. Each absorbed energy signature a word in an impossible conversation. The Defiance was not just defending. It was learning, analyzing, understanding the fundamental technological DNA of the Orion Collective's most advanced weaponry. "Adaptive metamaterials," Miguel Chen whispered, more to himself than anyone else. The sensor readings suggested something beyond current scientific understanding. The ship's hull was a complex system of nanoscale structures that could instantaneously reconfigure themselves. Incoming energy was not just deflected but broken down, analyzed, and transformed. Captain Kazuki Nakamura's voice emerged over the communication channel, calm and measured. "Technology is a language," he said, echoing his earlier statement, "and every language can be understood." The bridge of the Luminara fell silent. What had begun as a potential conflict was revealing itself to be something far more profound. The human vessel was demonstrating a level of technological evolution that challenged everything the Orion Collective understood about space, physics, and the nature of intelligent systems. Emma Park's tactical display became a living canvas of impossible interactions. Weapon systems that should have obliterated entire planetary defenses were being transformed into complex data streams. The Defiance moved with a grace that bordered on the miraculous. Each movement a calculated response that seemed to exist several moments before the actual threat materialized. "It's predicting our attacks," Elena Rodriguez said, a note of professional admiration cutting through her initial concern. "Not just defending. Predicting." The quantum mist around the two vessels seemed to vibrate with the intensity of the technological exchange. Standard laws of physics became suggestions rather than absolute rules. The Defiance demonstrated a mastery of spatial interaction that suggested technology centuries beyond current understanding. Lian Zhang's communication systems continued to pick up fragments of data, complex mathematical sequences, quantum probability matrices, energy signature translations. The ship was turning the entire conflict into a multi-dimensional conversation. They're not fighting, Miguel Chen realized suddenly. They're teaching. Each redirected weapon, each absorbed energy signature was a lesson. The human vessel was demonstrating the fundamental limitations of the Orion Collective's technological paradigm. It was a demonstration of potential, of possibility, of a technological understanding that existed on an entirely different plane of existence. Captain Nakamura's voice returned, carrying a tone of almost professorial patience. "Understanding comes before communication," he said. "And communication comes before true interaction." The universe seemed to hold its breath. The Luminara's most advanced systems had been reduced to a complex learning tool for an intelligence that existed beyond traditional comprehension. The battle was no longer a conflict, it was a revelation. A symphony of technology played out in the quantum-misted expanse of space, with the UES Defiance as its impossible conductor. The communication became a weapon more potent than any physical assault. Broadcast frequencies from the UES Defiance began to penetrate the Luminara's communication systems with surgical precision, revealing layers of tactical vulnerabilities that the Orion Collective had never considered exposed. Lieutenant Miguel Chen watched in growing horror as the ship's most secure communication protocols began to unravel. It wasn't a traditional hack. It was something far more intricate. The human vessel was deconstructing their tactical communication networks with a methodical approach that suggested deep, almost prescient understanding. "They're not just breaking through our systems," Chen muttered, his hands moving frantically across his console. "They're understanding them." Ensign Lian Zhang's communication arrays began to populate with a cascade of data, tactical frequencies, encrypted command structures, backup communication protocols. Each layer was gently, methodically pulled apart. Not destroyed. Analyzed. Understood. Captain Elena Rodriguez felt a chill run down her spine. This was warfare beyond physical combat, a battle fought in the realm of information, strategy, and psychological precision. Captain Kazuki Nakamura's voice emerged, calm and measured. "Your communication infrastructure reveals more than you understand," he said. Each word was a precision instrument, cutting through layers of tactical assumptions with clinical detachment. The Defiance began broadcasting tactical analyses that systematically dismantled the Orion Collective's defensive strategies. It wasn't just revealing weaknesses, it was demonstrating how those weaknesses could be exploited, with a level of detail that suggested impossible levels of intelligence gathering. Emma Park's tactical display became a living nightmare of strategic deconstruction. The human vessel was revealing tactical vulnerabilities that the Luminara's crew hadn't even recognized in themselves. Command structures, communication protocols, defensive positioning. Each element was being gently, methodically pulled apart and displayed like components of a complex mechanical system. "They know our tactics better than we do," Lian Zhang whispered, her voice a mixture of professional terror and grudging admiration. The broadcasts continued. Complex mathematical models demonstrated precise points of tactical failure. Probability matrices showed potential strategic responses with chilling accuracy. The Defiance was conducting a real-time tactical seminar, using the Luminara as both subject and audience. It wasn't just about winning a conflict. It was about demonstrating the fundamental limitations of the Orion Collective's entire tactical philosophy. Miguel Chen's hands moved across his console, attempting to block the incoming transmissions. But each attempt was anticipated, each defensive measure gently neutralized before it could fully form. The human vessel was several steps ahead, transforming the entire encounter into a complex lesson of technological and strategic superiority. "Communication is strategy," Captain Nakamura's voice continued, "and strategy is understanding." The quantum mist around the two vessels seemed to vibrate with the intensity of the information exchange. Standard communication protocols became suggestions rather than absolute rules. The Defiance demonstrated a mastery of information interaction that suggested capabilities far beyond conventional understanding. Elena Rodriguez understood then that this was more than a military engagement. This was a profound demonstration of technological and strategic philosophy. The human vessel was revealing the fundamental limitations of the Orion Collective's approach to space exploration, conflict, and interspecies communication. Each broadcast was a carefully constructed lesson. Complex tactical models showed not just how the Luminara could be defeated, but why its current strategic approach was fundamentally flawed. It was an education delivered with the precision of a master instructor, using the ship's entire tactical system as a teaching tool. Emma Park's tactical display continued to populate with impossible levels of detail. Potential response scenarios, communication vulnerabilities, strategic positioning. Each element was being revealed with a level of detail that suggested impossible levels of intelligence gathering. They're not just defeating us, Miguel Chen realized. They're showing us how we could be better. The universe seemed to hold its breath. The Luminara's most advanced communication and tactical systems had been transformed into a complex learning environment, with the UES Defiance as its impossible instructor. A symphony of information played out in the quantum-misted expanse of space, with communication as its most potent weapon. What began as a potential ambush transformed into a complete deconstruction of the Orion Collective's military capabilities. The UES Defiance moved with a precision that transcended traditional understanding of space combat, revealing itself as something far more than a simple warship. Captain Elena Rodriguez watched in growing comprehension as her entire fleet's tactical approach was systematically dismantled. It wasn't destruction. It was a surgical demonstration of technological and strategic superiority that bordered on the miraculous. Lieutenant Miguel Chen's sensor arrays continued to produce impossible readings. The human vessel seemed to exist in multiple tactical dimensions simultaneously. Each movement, each response was calculated with a level of precision that suggested an intelligence far beyond conventional artificial systems. They're not just defeating us, Chen muttered, his hands moving across increasingly frantic sensor displays. They're teaching us the fundamental limitations of our entire approach to space combat. Ensign Lian Zhang's communication systems continued to populate with complex data streams. The Defiance was broadcasting tactical analyses that revealed vulnerabilities the Orion Collective hadn't even recognized in their own systems. Command structures, defensive protocols, communication networks. Each element was being gently, methodically deconstructed. Captain Kazuki Nakamura's voice emerged periodically, each transmission a precision instrument of strategic communication. Tactical superiority is not about overwhelming force, he would say, but about comprehensive understanding. Emma Park's tactical display became a living testament to the impossible. The Defiance anticipated every potential move before the Orion Collective could even conceptualize it. Weapon systems were neutralized not through brute force, but through a complex dance of predictive intelligence that seemed to exist several moments before actual events. The quantum mist around the two vessels vibrated with the intensity of the technological exchange. Standard laws of physics became mere suggestions. The human vessel demonstrated a mastery of spatial and tactical interaction that suggested technology centuries beyond current understanding. Each ship in the Orion Collective's fleet found itself gently, inexorably guided into positions that maximized their vulnerability. It was less a battle and more a complex choreography, with the Defiance as its impossible conductor. They're not destroying us, Lieutenant Chen realized suddenly. They're demonstrating how fundamentally limited our tactical approach is. The broadcasts continued. Complex mathematical models showed precise points of strategic failure. Probability matrices revealed potential responses with chilling accuracy. The Defiance was conducting a real-time tactical seminar, using the entire Orion Collective fleet as both subject and audience. Captain Elena Rodriguez felt a profound sense of both terror and admiration. This was more than a military engagement. This was a profound demonstration of technological and strategic philosophy that challenged everything the Orion Collective understood about space exploration and conflict. Weapon systems that should have been devastating became nothing more than elaborate light shows. The Defiance moved with a grace that suggested the entire conflict was a carefully choreographed demonstration. Each redirected weapon, each neutralized defensive system, was a carefully constructed lesson. Communication is strategy, Captain Nakamura's voice continued to broadcast, and strategy is understanding. Emma Park watched as her most advanced tactical systems were gently, methodically revealed as fundamentally limited. The human vessel was not just defeating them. It was showing them the potential of a completely different approach to space combat and interspecies interaction. The quantum-misted expanse became a classroom, with the UES Defiance as its impossible instructor. Lian Zhang's communication arrays continued to populate with impossible levels of detail. Potential response scenarios, communication vulnerabilities, strategic positioning. Each element was being revealed with a level of precision that suggested impossible levels of intelligence gathering. Miguel Chen's hands moved across his console in a futile attempt to counter the ongoing tactical deconstruction. But each defensive measure was anticipated, each potential response neutralized before it could fully form. Captain Elena Rodriguez understood then that this was a moment of profound transformation. The human vessel was revealing the fundamental limitations of the Orion Collective's entire approach to space exploration, conflict, and interspecies communication. The universe seemed to hold its breath. What had begun as a potential conflict had transformed into a complex lesson of technological and strategic possibility. A symphony of tactical precision played out in the quantum-misted expanse of space, with the UES Defiance as its impossible conductor, demonstrating that true superiority was not about destruction, but about comprehensive understanding. With the Orion Collective's fleet reduced to barely a quarter of its original strength, the UES Defiance halted its extraordinary demonstration of technological superiority. The quantum-misted expanse of space held a profound silence, pregnant with unspoken meaning. Captain Kazuki Nakamura's voice emerged over the communication channels, calm and measured. "Survivors may retreat," he said, the words carrying a weight that transcended simple military communication. This engagement was a demonstration, not an extermination. Lieutenant Emma Park watched in growing disbelief as the Defiance began to move with a purpose that defied every expectation of military conflict. Instead of pursuing its tactical advantage, the human vessel began to actively assist the damaged Orion Collective ships. Captain Elena Rodriguez felt a chill run down her spine. This was something entirely beyond standard first contact protocols. Sophisticated repair systems extended from the Defiance's hull, tendrils of adaptive technology that seemed to understand the fundamental structural weaknesses of each damaged vessel. Quantum healing matrices began to reconstruct hull breaches, stabilize critical systems, and restore basic functionality to ships that moments ago had been on the brink of total destruction. "They're repairing our ships," Lieutenant Miguel Chen whispered, his voice a mixture of disbelief and profound confusion. "After completely dismantling our entire tactical approach, they're helping us." Ensign Lian Zhang's communication systems picked up the most extraordinary detail. The repair process was simultaneously a communication. Each restored system, each reconstructed hull section was accompanied by complex data streams that explained the fundamental flaws in the original design. It was less a repair and more a comprehensive technological lesson. The quantum mist around the vessels seemed to vibrate with the intensity of the ongoing process. Standard laws of physics became suggestions as the Defiance demonstrated technologies that seemed to exist several moments ahead of current scientific understanding. "Conflict is a form of communication," Captain Nakamura's voice continued to broadcast, "and communication requires mutual understanding." Elena Rodriguez watched as her most critically damaged vessels began to stabilize. The repair systems worked with a precision that suggested an almost empathetic understanding of technological limitation. Each restored system was accompanied by subtle improvements, quantum stabilization matrices, enhanced energy distribution networks, more efficient communication protocols. Emma Park's tactical display transformed from a battlefield assessment to a complex educational interface. The Defiance was not just repairing ships. It was demonstrating a fundamental approach to technological evolution that challenged everything the Orion Collective understood about interspecies interaction. Miguel Chen's sensor arrays continued to populate with impossible readings. The repair process was revealing layers of technological potential that the Orion Collective had never considered. Each restored system was a lesson. Each reconstructed hull section, a complex communication of possibility. They're showing us how we could be better, Lian Zhang realized, her voice carrying a note of profound revelation. The Mercy was calculated, precise, a demonstration of technological capability that went far beyond simple military conflict. The Defiance was revealing your approach to interspecies interaction that was simultaneously a lesson, a demonstration, and an invitation to understanding. Captain Nakamura's broadcasts continued, each transmission a carefully constructed lesson in technological and philosophical possibility. Destruction is a failure of communication, he would say. Repair is the beginning of understanding. The quantum-misted expanse became a classroom, with the UES Defiance as its impossible instructor. Elena Rodriguez understood then that this was a moment of profound transformation. The human vessel was demonstrating your approach to conflict that transcended traditional military doctrine, a philosophy of interaction that saw potential where others saw only threat. Each restored system told a story. Each repaired communication network was an invitation to a different way of understanding technological and interspecies potential. The Defiance moved with a grace that suggested the entire engagement had been a carefully choreographed demonstration of potential. What had begun as a potential conflict had transformed into a complex lesson of technological and philosophical possibility. Survivors may retreat, Captain Nakamura repeated, the words carrying a weight of invitation rather than threat. And remember this moment. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Mercy became a weapon more potent than any physical assault, a demonstration of potential that challenged fundamental understanding of conflict, communication, and possibility. A symphony of technological compassion played out in the quantum-misted expanse of space, with the UES Defiance as its impossible conductor, revealing that true superiority was not about destruction, but about comprehensive understanding and unexpected grace. News of the engagement spread faster than light itself, quantum communication networks buzzing with a story that would redefine galactic understanding. The encounter between the UES Defiance and the Orion Collective became more than a simple military engagement. It transformed into a pivotal moment of cosmic revelation. Lieutenant Miguel Chen watched as the first communication reports began to filter through. The quantum networks carried more than simple information. They carried a profound narrative of technological and philosophical transformation. Quantum communication hubs across multiple star systems began to populate with impossible data streams. The Defiance was not just a ship, it had become a symbol of something far more significant, a testament to a technological and philosophical approach that challenged fundamental understanding of interspecies interaction. Captain Elena Rodriguez understood that this was a moment of profound cosmic significance. The Orion Collective, once considered the most formidable military force in known space, was now revealed to be technologically and philosophically obsolete. Ensign Lian Zhang's communication arrays continued to receive complex data streams. Each transmission told a story of unexpected potential. The human vessel had demonstrated an approach to conflict that transcended traditional military doctrine, a philosophy of interaction that saw opportunity where others saw only threat. Captain Kazuki Nakamura's transmissions became a series of carefully constructed lessons. Technology is a language, he would say, and language requires mutual understanding. The galactic communication networks began to shift. What had once been a narrative of potential conflict transformed into a complex discussion of technological and philosophical possibility. The UES Defiance was no longer just a ship. It had become a living demonstration of a completely different approach to interspecies interaction. Emma Park's tactical analyses continued to reveal layers of complexity. The engagement was not just a military encounter, it was a comprehensive demonstration of technological potential that challenged everything known about space exploration, conflict resolution, and interspecies communication. Diplomatic channels across multiple star systems began to recalibrate. The Orion Collective found itself in a position it had never anticipated, not as a conquered civilization, but as a potential student of a fundamentally different approach to technological and philosophical understanding. Humanity is not a minor, emerging species, one communication stream noted. Humanity is a potential guardian of a completely different approach to cosmic interaction. The quantum mist of space seemed to vibrate with the intensity of this new understanding. Standard laws of physics became suggestions. The human approach demonstrated technologies and philosophical perspectives that suggested capabilities far beyond conventional understanding. Elena Rodriguez understood that this was more than a simple first contact scenario. This was a moment of profound cosmic transformation. Communication networks began to populate with detailed analyses of the encounter. The UES Defiance had not just demonstrated technological superiority. It had revealed a comprehensive approach to interspecies interaction that was simultaneously a lesson, a demonstration, and an invitation to understanding. Miguel Chen's sensor arrays continued to receive impossible data streams. Each transmission told a story of potential, of a civilization that saw conflict as a form of communication, and communication as a path to mutual understanding. The galactic perspective began to shift. Humanity was no longer seen as a minor, emerging species. They were a potential existential possibility, a civilization that approached technological and philosophical interaction with a complexity that challenged fundamental understanding. Lian Zhang watched as diplomatic channels began to recalibrate. The encounter was being studied, analyzed, discussed across multiple star systems. The UES Defiance had become more than a ship. It was a living demonstration of a completely different approach to cosmic potential. Captain Nakamura's final transmission became a complex philosophical statement. "We are not here to conquer." The message read, "We are here to understand." And in understanding, to invite others to see potential where they once saw only limitation. The universe seemed to hold its breath. What had begun as a potential conflict had transformed into a complex lesson of technological and philosophical possibility. Emma Park understood then that this was a moment of profound cosmic significance. The human vessel had demonstrated an approach to interaction that was simultaneously a weapon, a lesson, and an invitation. Communication networks across multiple star systems continued to populate with analyses, discussions, philosophical explorations. The UES Defiance was no longer just a ship. It had become a symbol of a completely different approach to cosmic potential. A symphony of technological and philosophical possibility played out across the quantum-misted expanse of space, with humanity revealing itself as something far more complex than anyone had anticipated. The epilogue remained unwritten, but the invitation was clear. The universe was about to change.